What would you do if a stranger mistook you for their long-lost child on Christmas Eve? Would you break their heart with the truth, or break the rules to give them one last moment of happiness? This isn't a hypothetical question. This is the impossible choice one young nursing student faced, and the decision she made in that moment would unravel a 15-year family secret and change 3 lives forever. We think of holidays as times for family, but for millions of elderly people with dementia, holidays are just another day of confusion and loneliness. Their children are busy, their memories are fading, and the people paid to care for them often become their only human connection. This true story reveals the heartbreaking reality of what happens when families fracture and financial struggle forces the most vulnerable to spend their final holidays with strangers. I'm about to share an emotional story that will make you rethink every assumption you've ever made about family, forgiveness, and what we owe each other as human beings. This isn't just another holiday tale. This is a raw, real-life human drama about the cost of pride, the power of pretending, and how one woman's act of kindness became the bridge that healed a wound 15 years in the making. Get ready to discover how a Christmas lie became the truest gift ever given, how an immigrant nursing student became the catalyst for a reconciliation nobody thought possible, and how sometimes the family we need isn't the one we're born into, but the one we find in the most unexpected places. By the end of this video, you'll never look at the holidays or the people who work through them the same way again. You know, there's a particular kind of loneliness that hits on holidays when you're far from home and everyone else is celebrating. For Elena, a 24-year-old nursing student from Mexico working as a home health aide, Christmas Eve was just another double shift at Oak Ridge Senior Living. While families gathered and carols played on the radio, Elena moved between rooms, tending to residents whose children had sent gifts but not visits. This storytelling moment begins in that quiet space where duty meets profound human need. Her last visit of the night was to room 312, Mrs. Eleanor Grant, an 82-year-old with advanced dementia. Now, here's the heartbreaking reality of financial struggle in elder care. Families often pay for services, but can't or won't provide the emotional presence that matters most. Elena had read Eleanor's file. One daughter, estranged for 15 years over some long-forgotten argument. The photo on the nightstand showed them smiling at what looked like a college graduation, frozen in happier times. If you've ever felt alone during what's supposed to be a joyful season, you understand Elena's melancholy. The key to transforming that feeling, she discovered, was in small acts of dignity, treating each resident not as a patient, but as a person with a whole life behind them. She'd learned Eleanor's preferences: lavender-scented lotion, tea with exactly 1 sugar, the way she liked her hair braided. These weren't in the care plan, but they were in Elena's heart. As Elena entered the dimly lit room, something was different. Eleanor was sitting up in bed, her eyes clearer than Elena had ever seen them. "Sarah," she whispered, reaching out a trembling hand. "You came home for Christmas." In that moment, Elena faced a moral crossroads that would change both their lives. She could correct the sweet old woman and watch her heart break, or she could offer a second chance at a Christmas that never was. What happened next was one of those split-second decisions that define human drama at its most raw. Elena took Eleanor's hand and said, "I'm here, Mom." The words felt both like a lie and the truest thing she'd ever spoken. The sacrifice of her own Christmas suddenly felt meaningless compared to the radiant joy that transformed Eleanor's face. This beautiful, complicated act of kindness would set in motion events nobody could have predicted. For the next 3 hours, Elena wasn't a health aide. She was Sarah home for the holidays. She helped Eleanor open the single present under the tiny artificial tree, slippers from the facility, but Elena pretended they were exactly what she wanted. They sang carols off-key, shared imaginary cookies, and looked at photo albums Eleanor hadn't touched in years. The loneliness in the room evaporated, replaced by something that felt suspiciously like family. Now, here's a practical life lesson about these moments of ethical ambiguity. Sometimes the kindest truth is the one that heals rather than the one that's technically accurate. If you're ever in a situation where someone's confused but happy, consider whether correcting them serves any purpose beyond your own discomfort. With dementia patients, the present moment's emotional truth often matters more than factual accuracy. Elena chose emotional truth. What Elena didn't know was that the night nurse, Maria, had witnessed the entire interaction through the partly open door. Instead of reporting protocol violation, Maria did something extraordinary. She covered for Elena, telling the supervisor that Mrs. Grant was having a peaceful night, while secretly bringing them real hot chocolate. This community of caregivers understood that sometimes rules need to bend for humanity to flourish. The secret Christmas was becoming a conspiracy of compassion. The magic couldn't last forever. On December 26th, the real Sarah Grant, now a corporate lawyer in Chicago, finally visited her mother. What she walked into was both beautiful and devastating. Elena braiding her mother's hair, while Eleanor happily chattered about their wonderful Christmas together. The confusion on Sarah's face quickly morphed into anger, then something more complicated when she saw her mother's genuine happiness. This family secret of estrangement was about to collide with an anonymous gift of connection. "I can explain," Elena began, but Sarah held up a hand. "Who are you and what game are you playing?" The confrontation in the hallway was tense, but something surprising happened. When Sarah peeked back into her mother's room and saw her humming while arranging photographs, her anger deflated. The forgiveness she'd withheld for 15 years suddenly seemed less important than her mother's present peace. Sometimes witnessing unexpected help can soften even the hardest hearts. Here's what most people misunderstand about family estrangements. They're often maintained out of stubborn pride rather than actual unresolved hurt. If you're estranged from someone, ask yourself this tough question: what would it cost me to reach out? And what's the actual cost of staying silent? Sarah realized in that hallway that her financial struggle to be successful had cost her 15 Christmases with her mother, while a minimum wage worker had given her mother the gift she couldn't. Sarah requested Elena's employee file and did something the nursing student never expected. She called her that evening, not to threaten legal action, but to ask questions. What did you talk about? What made her happy? What did she say about me? The conversation lasted 2 hours, with Elena gently sharing Eleanor's scattered memories of her Sarah, the childhood stories, the proud moments, the unspoken longing. It was storytelling as emotional bridge building. Topic 4. The truth revealed. As Sarah listened, something broke open inside her. She confessed the argument that had caused the estrangement. She'd chosen corporate law over the teaching career her mother had dreamed of for her. "I thought she was criticizing my ambition," Sarah explained. "But maybe she was just trying to protect me from a life that would leave me. Well, like I am now, successful and alone." This moment of raw honesty revealed how loneliness often wears expensive suits and drives nice cars. What happened next was the turning point in this emotional story. Sarah asked Elena the impossible. Could you help me? Not as my mother's aide, but as my guide to being her daughter again." The sacrifice Elena had made was about to become a different kind of gift, the gift of reconciliation between a mother and daughter separated by more than just miles. Sometimes the unexpected help we offer strangers circles back to heal wounds we didn't even know existed. Now, here's a powerful practice for anyone wanting to rebuild broken relationships. Become a student of the person you've lost. Ask their friends, caregivers, or acquaintances what matters to them now. People change, and the person you're estranged from today might be different from the one you remember. Sarah, through Elena, began learning about the mother she hadn't truly known in 15 years, her current favorite music, her small daily joys, her fears about the fading memories. For the next month, Elena became their unlikely bridge. She'd share stories from Eleanor's good days with Sarah and gently prepare Eleanor for her daughter's visits by showing current photos and saying, "You're Sarah," with positive anticipation. The community at Oak Ridge got involved too. Nurses would style Eleanor's hair before visits. Activities directors would plan simple crafts they could do together. What began as one woman's act of kindness had become a village's mission of healing. The breakthrough came on a cold January afternoon when Sarah visited without announcing herself first. She found her mother in the activities room, carefully pasting photographs into an album with Elena's help. "Look, Sarah," Eleanor said without turning around. "I'm making us a memory book so we don't forget this time." The use of the present tense, the calm assumption of her presence. It was the first time in years Eleanor had recognized her without prompting. The hope in that moment was so tangible you could almost touch it. What's beautiful about this human drama is how it redefined family. Elena didn't disappear from their lives. She became part of their new story. Sarah started visiting weekly, sometimes bringing lunch for all three of them. She hired Elena as a private caregiver for extra hours, not out of charity, but because she'd witnessed the dignity and skill Elena brought to her work. The financial struggle that had forced Elena to work holidays was easing, but more importantly, she'd found something money can't buy: belonging. Here's the life lesson in all this. Sometimes the family we need isn't the one we're born into, but the one we build through unexpected help and mutual care. If you're feeling disconnected this holiday season, look around your community. Who needs your presence? An elderly neighbor, a lonely coworker, an overwhelmed single parent? Your anonymous gift of time might become the bridge that reconnects them to their own family, or becomes the family they never had. As winter turned to spring, Eleanor's dementia continued its progression, but something fundamental had shifted. She had moments of clarity where she'd hold both their hands and say, "My girls." The forgiveness that had seemed impossible 15 years earlier now flowed naturally, not in dramatic speeches, but in daily acts of care. Sarah reduced her work hours. Elena continued her nursing studies with Sarah's mentorship, and the three women formed what one nurse called the most beautiful accidental family I've ever seen. The story doesn't end with three women finding each other. What happened next proves how one act of kindness can create ripples through an entire community. Sarah, using her legal skills, started advocating for better dementia care policies. Elena, inspired by her experience, chose geriatric nursing as her specialty. And Oak Ridge Senior Living implemented a holiday buddy program pairing lonely residents with compassionate staff or volunteers for holiday shifts. This true story became local news, and something more, a viral storytelling moment that inspired thousands. People began visiting elderly relatives they hadn't seen in years. Nursing homes reported increased volunteer applications. The secret that had been revealed wasn't just about one family's reconciliation. It was about our collective loneliness and our deep need for connection that transcends biology and old arguments. If you take one thing from Elena's journey, let it be this: your presence matters more than perfection. You don't need to have all the answers or fix everything. Sometimes just showing up as your imperfect, caring self is the greatest gift you can give. Whether it's pretending to be someone's daughter for a night, listening to a neighbor's stories, or simply making eye contact and smiling at someone who feels invisible, these small acts build bridges across the chasms of modern loneliness. Elena graduated nursing school the following year, with Eleanor and Sarah in the front row. Eleanor passed away peacefully 6 months later, holding both their hands. At the funeral, Sarah thanked the stranger who taught me how to be a daughter again. And Elena understood that sometimes the most meaningful sacrifice, a Christmas away from home, becomes the second chance that changes not just one life, but creates a legacy of love that keeps giving long after we're gone. So let me ask you directly, who in your life needs you to pretend for a little while? Not in a deceptive way, but in that beautiful human way where we meet people where they are, rather than insisting they come to where we are. Maybe it's an aging parent whose reality is different from yours, or a friend going through a hard time who needs you to enter their emotional world rather than dragging them into yours. I want you to think about the relationships in your life that have been damaged by pride, stubbornness, or the passage of time. What sacrifice of your ego would it take to reach out? What forgiveness could you offer that would cost you nothing but pride, but might mean everything to someone else? Tell me in the comments. Is there someone in your life who needs you to meet them in their reality right now? And what's one small way you could do that? Remember this powerful truth. The greatest gifts we give often aren't wrapped in paper. They're wrapped in presence, in attention, in the willingness to enter someone else's world. Even if that world is confused by dementia, clouded by illness, or simply different from our own. Your anonymous gift of understanding might be the second chance someone has been praying for. If this message touched that place in you that knows we're all connected, that understands our shared loneliness and our deep need for community, then do something about it right now. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we share real, human stories like this every week. We're building a community of people who believe that kindness is never wasted, that family is bigger than blood, and that sometimes the most beautiful storytelling begins with a simple decision to care.